Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the founder and host of the Blended podcast as well, which is the newest conversation in diversity and inclusion. And I am super excited to be here again with you this week. This week is not only my birthday week, but it's also my guest's birthday week. And yeah, we're both Scorpios. So this episode is bound to be fun. A lot of fun. But before we get to our guest for today, and she is a powerhouse woman in supply chain and procurement. So I cannot wait to share with you who it's going to be. But first, let's talk about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain this week. So this week's episode that we released yesterday is with Julian, the CEO of Logixboard. The conversation that we had was great. We talked all about their platform, their technology, how they're putting customer experience first and helping their freight forwarding customers and really put that experience first, which traditionally in freight forwarding we have not seen. So go and check that out. We're live wherever you listen to or subscribe to the podcast. We also have it on our website at letstalksupplychain.com. What is next? So you guys know every single month we give away the Let's Talk Supply Chain mug to a fabulous follower who engages with us the most on social media. And Larry was our winner for October. You can see here, he just posted it this morning. Him with his mug. Larry, we couldn't do this without your support. Thank you so much for posting this. We know that you love your mug, and I think you're using it on a daily basis. So thank you so much for that. Remember to engage with us on social media so that you too can be the follower of the month. We also have another giveaway, our supply chain dictionary. We are giving that away for free. All you've got to do is go to the Let's Talk Supply Chain Instagram and DM us talk1. So the number 1, and you'll be able to get your supply chain dictionary for free. What else is happening? Oh, we've got some upcoming events. So tomorrow I am going live at 11 a.m. Eastern with the team over at E2 Open about managing disruptions. Let the data speak. This is going to be a really, really good one. So much value, great conversation. So go and register because it's happening tomorrow. And then on November 18th, I'm running a panel discussion around sustainability. One of the panelists is Francis Edmonds, head of sustainability at HP Canada, and this is going to prove to be a really good conversation as well. So go and register over at Procurement Foundry. That's happening in the afternoon of November 18th. And then, of course, we've got Manifest. I am going to be live on stage. I think it's January 26th. I'm also going to be doing some podcasting from this floor as well. So come and check that out. We've got Log Tech Live. So Eric Johnson went live last Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you've missed any of our live shows, head over to the Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube page and you can go and check out all of the rest of our shows. Purpose, Planet, Profit with Topple. That's coming up just in a couple of weeks. And so is Coming in Hot with Abby Baird this month as well. What else do we got? Oh, we've got some fun supply chain merch over on our Let's Talk Supply Chain website. We have a brand new website for you. We've got some great supply chain merch, as you can see in this video as well. So if you're looking for something fun to give to the supply chainer in your life, head over to Let's Talk Supply Chain as well, letstalksupplychain.com. All right. Well, without further ado, it's time to bring up my guest for today. Good morning and happy Tuesday, Joselina.
Good morning, Sarah, and happy birthday and happy Tuesday. So happy to be here.
Happy birthday to you too. Yours is coming before mine.
Thank you. Yes. It's the day after tomorrow, actually.
I know. I can't wait. Are you doing anything special for your birthday?
To be honest, not really. So I'm going to take a spa day. So given the circumstances with the pandemic, I'm a big in partying, right? So I'm going out, but we have to be safe above all. So spa day it is.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. And if anybody's looking for the links for anything that I just mentioned, we've just put that in the comments as well. So, Joselina, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody who you are and what you do. And
Thank you, Sarah. So a little bit about me. So I'm a global supply chain leader. I have deep knowledge in chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and also in the life science space. So I'm I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion advocate. And also I represent proudly a couple of organizations. So Sarah's Cradle as an executive board member. And last but not least, I'm a co-founder of the Blended Pledge, which I get to work with you, which is one of the most exciting things. And I also am a member of your team in Let's Talk Supply Chain. So happy to be here today with you and all of our wonderful audience.
yes, Joselina just joined Let's Talk Supply Chain in a growth capacity, and we are super excited to have you with us as well. And just over on my personal LinkedIn page, Jonathan has joined us, Aaron has joined us, and they've both said happy birthday to us. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to the spa as well on Friday, so I'm taking a day off. Nobody email me, nobody call me. I won't be able to answer because my phone will be in the locker, just so everybody knows, giving you guys all a heads up. And then we'll be celebrating on Saturday. All right, so the first thing we need to get to is our poll, which is our question of the week that we posted last week. And this one was a fun one. We said, is it too early to play Christmas music? And we had 523 votes. 59% of you said yes, wait until December. I'm kind of with you on that. 34% of you said never too early. 5% said Mariah Carey is the queen, and 3% said other. Comment below. Some of those comments below were about Remembrance Day. So in Canada, we celebrate Remembrance Day on November 11th. And so they would like to see Christmas music not played so that we can honor the veterans on November 11th and then play Christmas music after that. So, Joselina, what do you think?
I mean, it's sensible, of course, on Remembrance Day, but my question would be, why stopping? Really? It should be Christmas all year long. I'm
one of those.
I'm one of those annoying people who loves Christmas.
Well, it's funny because after we posted this last week, I saw a news story, I think again on HLN. Everybody knows that I watch HLN in the morning because I like Robin Mead. And there was a diner, I can't remember where it was, but they put a notice on their jukebox that said that Mariah Carey's Christmas songs are not allowed to be played until December 1. And even then, it's only allowed to be played once an evening or once a day. They're not allowed to play it more than once a day. I guess that diner really, really got tired of Mariah Carey Christmas music.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of her music. I'm more like old school, like Bing Crosby, like the classics. But I will say, sure, some Mariah every now and then is okay.
Well, I think it's All I Want for, is it All I Want for Christmas?
Yeah, All I Want for Christmas.
That's the one that plays over and over and over again. Listen, if I worked in a bar and I had to listen to that like once an hour,
I can see the point. I can see the point, but it's from the movie Love Actually. I think that's really what it is, right? So people tend to remember the
Jeffrey movie. Says it can't be Christmas all year long because we have enough problems getting the season's presents. That is very true, and supply chain is being blamed on this all over the place.
No, we in supply chain, we're gonna save Christmas, right?
Yes, we are, but it might not be about stacking containers. Anyways, moving on, let's talk about my thoughts and coffee post. And good morning, Melanie. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, let's talk about my thoughts and coffee post. So every Sunday, I post a leadership post. Really just about, different things that are resonating with me for that particular week. And this Sunday, I posted small progress is still progress. The reason why I posted that is because one of my mantras is progress, not perfection. And last week, I launched my newsletter, my personal newsletter on LinkedIn called The Monthly Hustle. If you haven't gone to subscribe to it, go and subscribe to it. We're going to be producing some content within that newsletter once a month, and it's going to cover a variety of different topics. But for next month, it's going to it's going to cover this progress, not perfection kind of mantra that I've always sort of gone with. I mean, if I've done a podcast interview where the sound has not been the greatest, I will still release it because I think there's still value in the conversation and the information that's part of it. But I had to be okay with it not being perfect. Right. And so that's really what this is all about. So, Joselina, when you saw this post, what did you think?
I love that, Sarah. I think it represents, every journey that we're all on, right? So it starts with taking the first step and then keeping up with more steps along the way, right? So it's not about the finish line. And I think this represents that. And we could do it, not only in our professional lives, but every day, even when we think about working out, right? It's not about, killing ourselves in a treadmill. It's just doing a little bit every day, right? So, and just going with it. So no, I love it. I mean, when I read it, put a big smile, first thing. And second of all, it reminded me that we have to appreciate every little step that we make.
Absolutely. Isn't that a song? Every little step I take. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. That never happens. That never happens. Jocelina, see what you're doing to me?
I'm
And then I also wanted to
breaking
bring
the
this
sun.
one up because I posted this yesterday as a Motivation Monday post. I saw this on Tiffany Haddish's Instagram. I don't know who else is a Tiffany Haddish fan, but I'm definitely a Tiffany Haddish fan. I loved, loved, loved her book. If you haven't read her book or listened to her book on Audible, go and listen to it. It's really, really, really good. But she said, I just want to keep being proof that good people with no hidden agendas still exist in the world. And I think
Amen.
from both the Sunday post and this Monday post, they both really resonated. They're very different, but they both really resonated. And that's when I wanted to bring that to the forefront.
Yeah, I told you, you're the good influencer, Sarah.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to Rhonda, Imtiaz, all joining us on my personal LinkedIn. We finally got it working this week. I mean, I'm super excited about that. And Rhonda said something about my song. Are you telling me that I should not quit my day job? Anyways, it's okay if you are. Joe says happy birthday to both of you as well. And then Linda says good morning from Mexico. And
Buenos días.
Melanie says, I love this. It's all about building relationships and planting the seeds. Yes, Melanie, you should meet Rhonda because Rhonda is all about planting the seeds as well. You guys need to connect on LinkedIn. See, we're connecting people this morning. We are doing so much this
Awesome.
morning, and I love it. All right. Well, we're a little bit early for our supply chain topics, but we have a lot to cover. So it's probably a good thing. And I am a true believer in everything happens for a reason. So let's get started. So the
Let's
first article that we're going to talk about, I found on Global News here in Canada. It's about how Air Canada introduces COVID self-testing options for customers. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with supply chain? Well, supply chainers are some of the most traveled business professionals, I feel. Right?
Mhm.
Anywhere from manufacturing, sourcing, procurement, we're always traveling. There's different subsectors of our industry as well that travel more than most. One of those subsectors I was in a while ago, and they're traveling like 300 days a year. And so I feel like we put a lot of miles as supply chainers. And I think as we come out of COVID and we start being able to travel again and we start going to conferences and we start going to see vendors and suppliers, these things are really going to be very important to who we are and how we're going to be traveling. And so I thought this was really cool because they're coming out with some self-testing options. It'll be interesting to see who adopts this. It's going to be used for us to be able to come back into Canada, but we'll see how many other airlines are actually going to jump on this bandwagon and come up with testing options that are equivalent to a PCR test. Because I can tell you just from traveling, PCR tests are a pain in the butt. I mean, when I went to England, they lost my day 2 test in the mail, and I ended up doing 4 PCR tests within 24 hours, which was crazy. And let me tell you, in the UK, they do back of the mouth on both sides, then it goes up your nose on both sides, which honestly, you don't want to do that 4 times in a day.
No, absolutely not. To be honest, Sarah, I think it's great that Air Canada is leading ahead. I mean, if we go back to last year when they approved the FDA with the emergency rapid test over the counter, so Abbott and also Alcon Labs, they had those. I mean, definitely it's making it more ease for people to have access, and the more testing, the more prevention, and the more prevention, of course, people can feel more safe. And when you're traveling, you don't want to get stranded and then have to go to a foreign lab and actually queue in and hold the process and the hassle. So definitely it's great that airlines are making it more accessible. It's also part of the passenger experience, I believe. And at the end of the day, when we look at the numbers, I mean, back in August, traveling went back to at least 70%. I mean, still down compared to 2019, but definitely is going to open up, and the borders open up, at least here in the United States. So there's going to be more requirements with people being vaccinated, but to having accessibility to more testing, not only to over the counter, but through the airlines, it's going to be a must, I think.
Absolutely. Peter is like, we always lead the way. Go Air
Canadians,
Canada.
yeah.
Peter is a fellow Canadian out of Montreal. So that is why.
Yes,
And then Jeffrey's going back to the songs, man. Stay tuned following this program for an hour of smooth classics as we play music and supply chain. Is my little, my little jingle that I did earlier going to be part of that, Jeffrey? Probably not.
Let's do
Anyway.
the sing along.
And then Davin says, I hope that's with different swabs. It was absolutely not. And that's what I'm telling you, man, is that we need to figure out this testing. Anyways, part of this conversation is also an article that I found about Heathrow. Heathrow air traffic may not recover until 2026. The reason why I want to lump this in with what we're talking about at Air Canada is because this mostly has to do with passenger travel. They're saying that cargo is up 90% to 90% of the 2019 levels. So cargo is slowly coming back. But what does this mean for cargo and passenger? Well, it means that it's going to cost us a lot more. The reason why they're saying that it's not going to recover until 2026 is because the CAA is putting a cap on how much money they can actually charge passengers going through the Heathrow airport. And I think that's the amount of time that they're going to need to be able to recover financially. They're talking about a lot of lineups at Heathrow, and that's partly because they've laid people off and now they have to bring them back as well. And so when we're looking at air travel as supply chainers, we're looking to get back to air travel, either personally or professionally. There's going to be a lot of different barriers and different things that we're going to have to think about and do because COVID has kind of changed the way we travel. And I think some of those costs and recouping those costs may come over into air cargo. And we talk all the time about how ocean freight has gone up. We don't talk a ton lately about air cargo. And so wanted to bring this up because I think a variety of different ways this is going to impact what we do on the logistics side. Joselina?
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, it will be interesting to see opportunities on the passenger side because of the manpower issues at the airports. How do they deploy technology maybe to automate in view of maybe labor shortages? I'm curious to see how that actually played out. For the cargo, definitely we're going to see even more of an increase. I think it's expected as we're coming into the Christmas, going back to the theme, right? So to make sure that people can expedite their goods. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how things line up because it's not only at Heathrow. I think 5 years to recover, it's actually not that bad to be expected from the pandemic.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. We have a really great conversation going on in the comments on the Let's Talk Supply Chain link. They're talking about the masked singer, I think, but turning into supply chain. The masked singer and the mystery palette.
Oh God.
I think we are coming up with TV shows here. I mean, this is something, Jeffrey, that you need to get in touch with me about. We're going to hit up Netflix and we're going to be like, listen, man, we need to have a show about supply chain. We can call it the mystery palette.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
All right, back to supply chain. So the next article that I wanted to talk about is, so there's a couple of things. One is Sophia posted this just a couple of days ago around a conversation that happened with Colgate Palmolive, and they were talking about factory in a box anytime, anywhere. Davin sent this to me this morning because he wanted me to be aware of this, and he wasn't sure, what to make of it. And I'm not quite sure what to make of it because from the looks of that picture, it looks like there's people that are working on a factory line inside a container on a vessel, which to me, I mean, although it looks like a good idea, I'm a little afraid because there's a few things around this that could definitely, definitely go wrong. And we've got an article to back this up as well, which we've put in the comments and we'll get to in just a minute. But I wanted to give you the visual on this so that you can get an idea of what we're talking about. Joselina?
No, it's let me kind of unpack this in a couple of ways. So back in probably 10 years ago, right? So this technology was used over the road for pilot plants. So when you were doing a new product development, and if you didn't have the footprint, you could actually move into a container, but you have to put it on the ground and stabilize it to do manufacturing a pilot plant. Over the water, I think it's going to be quite tricky, especially taking into account weather conditions. So quality assurance, safety. So there's a lot of questions, but definitely, more power to technology. And if we can do this with robotics, and it will be interesting to see how this plays out. So.
Well, I think we might have to do it with robotics. I mean, who wants to be in a container
Nobody.
making products on a vessel in the middle of the ocean? And, there's a couple of things here, right? I mean, containers going overboard. I mean, that is a really big concern, especially with climate change and, the storms and things that are changing on the water. And then even if they don't go overboard, I mean, think about it. You're in that container and I
Moving.
don't want to make anybody seasick. But if
No.
they're seasick within that container and they're going to ruin half of the products anyways.
Absolutely. And the application probably for that job is that, are you claustrophobic and do you get motion sickness, right? So those are the main two questions that people are going to be bombarded with.
Listen, I want to know from the audience what you guys think of this factory in a box. And I'm going to post the picture again because and it's interesting because when we looked into this right before coming on the show, it talked about how this is something that Nokia was looking into in 2019, which is pre-pandemic. Right? So this wasn't pandemic driven. This was something that Nokia has been looking at before the pandemic, and now potentially Colgate is looking at it as an option as well. I mean, is this really a viable option? And Davin makes a really good point here. He says, I would be wanting danger pay. I mean, all day long. I mean, it looks like the door is closed. Like, how do you put people in that? I don't know.
And only that, if you insurance your cargo, imagine if you have the cost of insurance and liability for a moving plant, right? And the vessels also, they will want it to be extra cover because they don't want to be responsible for the liability. So there's a couple of issues there. I think it will work if you actually move it over the road, like it's done historically, and ground it, right? My problem is on the moving vessel. I don't know about that.
So Ian has shared a link. I don't know what that link goes to on YouTube, but I think it has something to do with the factory in a box. Audria says safety is a big concern. Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with this. I understand the concept, but so many questions. I suppose for certain industries it could work. And Jeffrey says no danger pay, but you can buy a reduced life jacket. I mean, we're making a tiny bit of light of this, but then I go back to thinking about what our seafarers are going through right now, and they have free reign on that particular vessel. There's all sorts of challenges that are going on. I mean, think about those 80 vessels that are in LA and Long Beach and the crews that are on those vessels that can't leave, right? That have to get supplies out to those boats. And from a mental health standpoint, they're not able to see their families. And so you think about how we haven't been able to solve for the seafarer crisis. And then you move into, a factory in a box and people producing product in an actual container. I really think that we have to learn from one to do the other before any of this could really, really be a reality. What do you think?
Agreed. I mean, it's adding a layer of complexity and liability that I don't think we're prepared to handle. No industry is. So, and the risk it's extra proportionally abysmal. So, I think that we kind of have to rethink the factor in a box in a vessel.
Yeah, so Thomas has a great question. Which country's employment laws cover container workers in international waters? That is not something that I necessarily know about, but my good friend Allison Cusack from Cusack and Co. She is a maritime lawyer, so I would highly recommend to go and connect with her on LinkedIn and ask her that question. I will ask her that question as well, but I won't see you guys again until next
Excellent
Tuesday.
question.
So if you want the answer before then, please go and connect with her as well. All right, we have got one more article, and this one, guys, this one is a good one. You all know that I like the hustle. And so when it came up and said, confused about supply shortages, consider the odd economics of milk and sawdust. And you might be wondering, what does sawdust have to do with milk? Well, when I read this article, I realized that because what they did was they used an example of in 2008, construction plummeted, but the milk prices went up. And you can say, well, how could that be? How are these two correlated, and how are they related to supply chain? Well, they definitely are, because apparently what happens is cows need to be very comfortable to be able to produce milk. And in order to keep them comfortable, they lay on a bed of sawdust. So if construction plummets and you don't have a supply of sawdust, or the supply of sawdust actually, um, the cost jumps from $600 a year to $1,200 a year, they have to recoup those costs because they've got to keep those cows comfortable so that we can all have milk. And so that is the correlation between milk, sawdust, and supply chain. And it just goes to show some of the complexities of supply chains that we don't even think about. Joselina, you were laughing. I know this is a fun one, but
No, Sarah, to me, I mean, I'm gonna make light of it quickly, but it equals slow economy equals unhappy cows, right? So essentially, they don't like inflation any more than we do, which is great. But when we think about it, it's really the interdependency in the supply chain. So when we look at it, the tier 2, 3 supply chains, they definitely need to be mapped out, because what we learn from this is that the unthinkable can be thinkable, really. And it can throw a curveball into your supply chain and therefore in the cost. But I thought that it was hilarious that the cows really, they were uncomfortable with inflation and therefore they would not give us milk.
absolutely. We've still got people talking about the factory in a box. Martin over on my personal LinkedIn says, bad idea, manufacturing in a sea container. And David says, great point. Learn from one first before we go into another. And Imtiaz, Peter, I didn't get your 5-minute warning, and Imtiaz is giving me the 5-minute warning. So I are you slacking? I didn't see it. Anyways. Oh no, I see it now. Okay, Peter, you're not slacking. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes left. But yeah, I mean, this story is just absolutely just goes to show how supply chain is ingrained in sort of every single thing that we touch and we feel. I mean, this pen alone has all sorts of different components from different places around the world just to make this one pen. And sometimes we don't realize the complexities of getting all of these different components together to make this pen so that we can buy it from the store. And so, sawdust and cow milk, you will never think of those two products the same again. Right, Joselina?
No, absolutely. And we would not think the same about cows either.
I don't think so.
There's no way. There's no way. I mean,
And
no.
if you have any sawdust right now, well, actually, yeah, it might be expensive. You might want to
Yeah.
check with your local dairy farmers and see how they're doing for sawdust. And if you have any, or you have access to any, you might want to offer up that supply, just so our milk prices don't go up.
Yeah, lumber prices are going through the roof because inflation and construction, right? So everything is interconnected. But absolutely, map your tier 2, tier 3 supply chains, people. You need to know what is in there. So it doesn't happen like the milk.
Absolutely. Jeffrey says that sounds like a plug for almond milk. I drink coconut milk. I can't drink almond milk. So it might be a plug for coconut milk instead of almond
Goats.
milk. I don't know.
Goats, right? We need to look at goats. Go girls,
All
go
right,
team.
we got 30 seconds left, people. And we're on time today, Peter and Imtiaz. Thank you so much for keeping us on track today. Joselina, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for
Guys
having
and
me.
gals out there in the audience, I am so excited that you joined us this morning. It was such an amazing discussion on the Let's Talk Supply Chain page, on my personal page. Let's keep it going. Next week, Audrey Ross is going to be back as my guest. And again, we are going to have some fun talking about supply chain. Have an amazing day.